Hello, here I am again with me, Nippon from Nippon Studio. And here we are again to learn about something very spectacular and very awesome. It might has been for like very long time that I've been gone forever, but however in our fan page and on our YouTube channel we still have some update, either video live streaming that we can come and share and talk about experience and stuff. And the other thing is, I know that we all have a experience and also affected by it, which is the pandemic that happened all around the world. But no matter how hard the storm hits, we always have to stand firm and keep moving forward. And that is also part of it that happened in my life as well, which is working and also take care of my family. But however, I am happy and feeling warmth that I can be surrounded with the people that I love. And also working on the things that I love. Therefore, I want to be one of the encouragement for all of you so we all can moving forward and be successful in our own future. Just thinking as one of the blessing that I can share it with you. Alright, so this is one of the very fantastic things because this year is coming up, which is the 9th years of Nippon Art of Media. I admit it, this seems like such a very big deal in a very long time as well. But however, this channel is really focused on teaching and sharing on the tutorial, either doing on post-production on After Effects or some tips on a production process, which I am willingly and happily share with you for free. So I want to thank you all that you still keep in touch and watching my channel and tutorials, and keeping yourself up on learning and developing and improve your own skill. And I believe that what I taught you and share with you, that you can take these stuff and apply into your own work, so you can push your own limits and become the greatest in the future. Alright, so today we are going to learn something like 3D tracking, which in this case is a Volcano effects-ish kind of. So however it's going to look like, so let's take a look. Alright, so one of the things that I want to share with you to let you know that to do this tutorial, you don't need any plugin or third party except for just for this shot that I use a 3D element. But other than that, you don't need any plugin. But we would use just the built-in in the software itself, and also with some elements outside the footage that we can use with. So that means if you have this software, you can automatically do this effect. But this tutorial, we're going to focus on learning on doing visual effects only for this shot, because I want to share and for us to understand the principle of how to do it. So no matter what footage that we are using, we can manage to make it work in a different type or kind of visual effects that we want in our own work. Alright, so as you can see, this is a final product, and as you can see, the camera, it's slowly kind of like, you know, spinning around this big rock, which is I understand that it's kind of like fantasy-ish kind of, because I mean, I don't think there's such a thing that happens like this, but who knows, right? But however, I mean, that's not the point anyway. But the point is we want to learn to do this effect, and as you can see, I mean, the camera is slowly spinning, which is the drone, I mean, obviously, and it is something a little bit difficult to track. So we're going to learn like what's the limitation onto doing this effect. But what I'm going to tell you, it will surprise you a little bit, maybe, I don't know, which is for this effect to work, we only going to use one video footage. That means that the rest of it is just a still image that we are getting from, you know, internet and using in this project. So let's see how it is. So this is the original footage. Alright, so as you can see, the camera is spinning around the object. So this is something we're going to learn how to track, and also to put these elements to mapping on the surface. And this is something we're going to do a little bit advanced, I mean, I guess, you know, which is the smoke. Okay, let's take a look. Alright, so as you can see, this is a smoke. As you can see, it's moving a little bit, and it's animated, and also it's moving in like a 3D you know, perspective. So it's not like just a flat picture, and it's also slowly moving up too. And this is something that we're going to learn about today too, which is how to make the smoke appears only where it's been lit by the light. I mean, we all understand that, you know, the smoke, it only appears when there's a light shining to it. So that is something that would be a little bit tricky to do it, because that is how the real smoke works, right? Because the smoke is like a part of tiny particles that floating on the airs, and also wherever the light hits those particles, it's going to appear. So that's how we can see it. So let's not waste any more time, let's get to it. Alright, so first of all, we have to have our original footage, which is this one. And these footage, I mean, you can download it anywhere. I mean, from where I downloaded is from pixels.com, which you can using free copyrights. So you can use any footage. It doesn't have to be like the rock, it could be a mountain or a building, whatever you want. But at the same time, I mean, this tutorial is not really just focused on to do a volcano effects only, but this is going to be the beginning or the foundation of how to do this effect, so you can also apply and, you know, develop it in your own style, in your own way. So not necessarily has to be volcano, basically. I mean, that is one of the important thing, because that is my part, my job, you know. I'm sharing, I'm teaching all the principle of how to do it, but you know, how to really apply into your own work, that is really up to you. Alright, so the next thing, we're going to import it in, and we're going to throw it in a new composition. Alright, so let's just use just the length of the clips. And as you can see, I mean, this tutorial is not really for a beginner. So if you consider yourself as a beginner, I don't really recommend this tutorial for you. But if you have a try and the endeavors to, learn it, it's fine. Go ahead, please. Alright, so after this, as you can see, obviously, and you probably think about it, first of all, we have to track it first. So we're going to on tracker, and you have to click on your footage first, and then hit track camera. And if it's going to take a while to track the things, and the timing, it depends on how big the shot is and how long the shot is too. So it's going to take a little while to analyze our shot. Oh, there's one other thing that might be depends on how fast your computer is too. So right now it show you solving camera, which is a good sign because it would take a little while. I don't know how much little, but oh, there is. Alright, after it's finished tracking, it's going to tell you to create camera. So on this process, I'm probably gonna go a little bit fast because I think most of you guys already know this process. Alright, so right now what we can do, we have to make sure of how our tracking is work. So by going check on the top view, so we can know how camera really move. Because sometimes, when the shot is kind of complicated, sometimes the camera just go wild. And one other thing is we have to make sure that the camera really move along with our real world perspective of the camera. Because right now our shot looks like it's moving from left to right. And as you can see here, our camera really does move from left to right too. So that is kind of confirming of what we're trying to confirm here. So there's one caution that you probably have to be aware, which is like the shot itself should not have too much complicated move. Like something it's moving in front of the camera or like obscure something, because that would create the complication in the process of tracking. Alright, so let's come back to our active camera, and I'm going to lock the camera, so we're not gonna do anything to it. So I'm going to click on our footage and click on 3D camera tracker. And first of all, we probably have to get a bit understanding of how our geometry or the set is. So first of all, as you can see, obviously this rock is separated from the other rock, like that one. So let's start from this rock. So I'm going to click and hit Alt and then select each point and then right click and create solid. And on this part, I'm probably not gonna go over it again because I think most of you already know how to do it. So the next step, we're going to do something to make sure if it's really stick to our shot. So I'm going to use the FX grid and drop it in. And as you can see now, it's really stick to our shot. So that is the confirmative. So we don't need it anymore, so I'm going to delete it. Alright, so the next stuff is I'm probably going to dim the light of our shot down a little bit, because if there's anything that we create, then it might look better because it would make things pop out. So I'm going to create new adjustment layer and put it above our footage, and I'm probably gonna use exposure and then bring it down. There you go. Alright, next thing is we need some sort of assets or element that we want to plug it in. So I already download all of these, whole bunch of it. Alright, so let's pick this one. So if you're kind of new to this is gonna be a good start for you to understand and learn it. but if you're already not new, you probably know how to do it. So basically, click on the solid that we just create and hold on Alt, and then just drag the asset that we want down to it to replace it. Alright, so what we can do is we can scale it up, and then I'll probably crank it up by decrease the gamma correction, and then I'll use a blending mode to screen. I'm probably gonna mask it too. Right, so we can only need the part that we want, and then feather it out. And as you can see, it's pretty okay. It might be off a little bit on the right, so I'm probably gonna move anchor point by hit A on the keyboard and shift it a little bit to the left. Alright, so let's see. There you go. That's pretty good, actually. Alright, so this is really up to you, so you can reposition it, you know, from up down or something like that. Or if you want to readjust the mask, I mean, that's really up to you. You know, not to make it like overlapping with the other things. Oh, there you go. As you can see, it's kind of popping out there. So let me shift it a little bit, and also shifting with the mask. Okay. Alright, pretty good. Alright, the next thing, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to duplicate it by hit Control D. And this one, I'm going to offset it. You know, maybe bring it down, maybe scale it down too. Like this, so it's not gonna look like repetitive. Alright, something like this. I mean, one other thing is we can readjust the color as well. So let's go to color correction and use hue and saturation. Alright, for this one, I'll probably gonna change the hue to kind of yellowish. Oh, maybe too much. Alright, let's go back. Okay, something like that. I'm probably going to copy the saturation and paste it on the other one as well. Okay. Alright, I'll probably going to readjust it again. So we can add more stuff to it. So I'm probably going to duplicate it and import the new asset to our project. And I'm probably going to use this one. So again, hold on Alt and then drag this down to replace it. Okay, there you go. And then let's scale it down a bit. And then I'm moving the anchor point now. So let's bring it down a bit. Something like that. So one of the things that you have to keep in mind is try to not to move the layer out to its path too much. You know, because like if I'm moving too much, then it might offset the perspective of the geometry that we have. Like for example, if I drag it all the way out here, so you can see obviously it's like floating in the air, which is weird. And you know, I mean, just you can so just play around with it. You know, if you play the shot and it looks like it really stick to the shot, I mean, that's perfectly fine. Alright, so let's do something else then. So let's pick some other spot. So you have to click at 3D camera tracker in order to bring all these tracks, dot. And then, okay, maybe let's pick these one. Alright, right click and create solid. Alright, and let's see what we can do. Okay, I'm just going to import the new asset. And again, just repeat the same process. You know, click on our solid and hold on Alt and drag the new asset down to replace it. I'm going to right click, blending mode and screen, and I'm going to use exposure again to crank it down. So I'll hit A for anchor point and kind of shift it and mask it. And as you can see, it's not perfectly going to be the same exact thing like the example that I just showed you. But again, that's not the point, isn't it? The point is like to show you how the process works so you can do, you know, in your own way. So the next thing, I'm going to bring down the saturation again and change the hue to make it match to the rest of it. Alright, something like this. Alright, so let's find some other spot as well. So as you can see, obviously, I mean the process of it's just like repetitive process, you know, because each time we do everything the same thing, you know, but the only things that you probably have to import the new stuff, which is your imagination, because you have to find a way to composite or put things together in such a way to make it looks nice and realistic, I guess. So this one, let me import the new one, and I'm going to drag it down, replace it, something like this, and I'm probably going to drag exposure and hue and saturation, right click, blending mode and screen, and I can hit A to kind of reposition it. And as I have explained before, you know, when you trying to find the asset to put it down here, you have to angulate it in such a way to align with the surface of the texture, or in this case is, you know, the big rock, so it will look like it's stick, you know, to the surface. Alright, so I'm probably going to readjust it however I want. Alright, as you can see, oh, that's pretty. Well, except for it's going off the rock. Alright, obviously, as you can see, it's going out. So this one, I'll probably have to squeeze it a little bit in order not to make it go off. Oh, there you go, almost there, almost there. So I'll probably scoot it over to the right. Alright, I hope this is good now. So on this part, I'm probably gonna be fine with it, so I'm going to lock it, and we're going to do it again, find a new spot. So I'm probably gonna pick these spots and, you know, just repeat the same thing. So let me import the new asset, and again, hold on Alt and drag it down to replace it. And again, I'll probably gonna bring exposure down just in case we're going to use it, and mask it and crank it down and use a blending mode to screen again, and maybe feather it out a touch. Okay. Okay, looks good so far. Maybe because the angle and everything, it's just there. And let's see. It's going to clinging on that edge, but you know, let me move it a little bit. Okay, it's kind of okay there. Alright, so I'll probably have to squeeze it a little bit, so in order not to make it go out of the cliff or the rock. So I mean, basically, as you can see, you probably have to find a spot where the things can really stick onto. And of course, I mean, let's change the hue a little bit. Alright, so as you can see, it's, what is it, like a lava falls? Not a waterfall, but lava fall. Alright, so let me pick one more spot, which is on the base. There, create solid. Alright, let's take a look. Oh, that's almost perfectly matched. Alright, again, so let's find the one that you think you like and you want it to be there. So I just import the new asset, and again hold on Alt and replace it on. Again, exposure, drag it down, and you can, you know, rotate it in such a way you want. And of course, mask it. And blending mode screen, and let's see, probably feather it out a bit. Oh, there you go. Obviously it's like going off the rock. Right, so you can rotate it so not to make it like going off the thing. Alright, so let's take a look. That's pretty good actually. So I think what we have so far here, it could be a good setup idea, for you all can understand how it's going to work. So let's add something additional to it. And again, this is really up to you now, up to your imagination or however you want to decorate it in such a way. So, whatever you feels like or you feel like, to do it. So I'm probably gonna drag this one down and see. Again, I'll hit the blending mode to screen and cranked it. And I'm probably going to mask around this part. And rotate it a touch, feather it out. Obviously, as you can see, I'm kind of go a little fast because these are just a same process or same principle that you can do it, because I already told you that. So I hope that you guys can come up with your own new stuff on this, with the same technique. And let me pick the new spot here. Alright, so basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the part where it's disconnect. So I'm trying to find and fill in the connection there, And again, hit your screen and exposure, cranked it, and I can reposition, of how I want it. And this part I'm probably going to mask out, and use this part. So let's see. Well, it's not that bad, isn't it? Alright, so let's move on to the next thing, which is let's do some dropping lava point. Let's do some like waterfall lava, I guess. So I'm going to pick a new spot, and again I probably have to use a new asset as well, which is this photo. It's the one that it's like a dropping down like a waterfall kind of look. And again, you have to click on our new solid and also hold on Alt and drag it down to replace it, as usual, obviously. And I'll probably have to scale it up a bit, and then I'm going to mask it, only the part that I want. Alright, exposure again, and cranked it again, and screen mode. Alright, feather it out a little bit, and let's see how it is. Oh my, oh my. Alright, it's floating. Then maybe let's scale it up a bit and hit A to change the anchor point. Alright. Alright, let's see it. Alright, so this is really up to you where you want the the waterfall, the lava waterfall would dropping down. And this is the part where you not really should be doing it, and I'm not recommend it, but in this case I will. So the thing that you kind of see when I readjust the position by moving the anchor point. I only move through the X and the Y axis, not really in the Z axis. That's because it's going to offset the position of the things that we're trying to track. But in this case, I mean, as you can see, our lava, it's kind of going off the rock. So I'm going to reposition it just a little bit, push it back in order to make it stick to the rock. And again, I mean, this is really on this is really on however you want to do it. And as you can see, it did pretty good job, isn't it? Alright, let's scale it up a little bit and slide it to the left. And just imagine it's dropping down from there. Okay, there you go. On the bottom, obviously, I probably have to, move the mask. Alright, pretty. Alright, that's good. Alright, so now the question is like, how can we make it like it's moving, like it's dropping down from above? Alright, so I believe there are so many methods to it, but my version of method is this. So first of all, you have to which is pre-compose, by hit Control Shift C cat, and then we're going to choose leave all attributes, and then hit OK. Alright, so that means that we can go inside the comp and readjust it. Alright, so far right now, as you can see, it's just a still photos. How can we make it move? Alright, if I can search some of the things that we can kind of use as a lava, probably this one. Alright, so I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to duplicate this one, the waterfall one, and bring it up to the top. And for this one, I'm going to go to FX keying and color range, and I'm going to key out the lava, color, which is the yellow, and bring up the fuzziness just a touch. Alright, there you go. And that means we have the one that's see-through, the one with the lava itself, and the other one is the original background. So I hope you get it. So I'm going to lock both of them, and for this one I'm going to increase the sides, and I think you probably have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to keyframe on position, and for this one I'm going to make it like dropping down like this. So as you can see, you're going to have something like this, like it's dropping down, And again, we're going to do blending mode. So I'm going to use color dodge. Alright, as you can see now, it's look like it's moving, isn't it? So this is one of the things that you can do, which is create a new adjustment layer. And I'm going to go to FX Distort and use turbulent displace. And this effects kind of make it like wobbly, I guess. And amount maybe a little bit down, and I can keyframe the offset of the turbulent displace, and this one I'm probably gonna drag it down. So if you play it, then you're going to see like it's like wobbly, and it's dropping down. So this is really actually up to you, how much do you want the turbulent displace would do. So if it's like this, probably too much, I guess. So, Alright, so just enough for you can see the turbulence of it. And also the size is really up to you. How do you want? Let's try 7. Alright. And this is like, and again, this is really depends on your footage or the asset that you have. How much do you want it as well. So I'm going to close it. So if we come back to our final comp, as you can see, it's dropping down like this. It's like it's dripping, dropping, whatever. Alright, so in this case, I probably wanna readjust it a little bit on this part. Hit on A, and I'm going to drag it, and it's make it looks like it's dripping down from there, and then, you know, going from that to down here on this one. And this is part where we're going to do it, the one that is forbidden, which is moving the Z axis. So something like this. So this is probably really just an exceptional, you know, that you can tweak it however you want. So the next part is, let's see, I want it to have something like, you know, shoot out from the top, like maybe a lava or some explosion or something, you know. Alright, so let me put something to it. Again, hold on Alt and drag it down to replace it. And then blending mode to screen, and go to color correction and exposure. So drag it down, I'll hit on A, bring up the anchor point and readjust it. And obviously I probably have to mask it. And hit F for feather. Alright, something like this. And as you can see, it's kind of stuck to it. And let's bring down hue saturation and tweak the hue. And let's see it. Oh my, what's going on there? It looks like it's overlapping and see through it. So this is one of the things that I already mentioned to you in the beginning, is you have to understand how the geometry of the shot is. In this case, the rock is overlapping on each other, you know, and of course, I mean, it has to be blocked by the rock, you know, the rock in the front. So, I mean, basically you can mask it and subtract it, but of course it might take a while, but I'm probably not gonna do that. So basically I'm going to come back to our original footage, the one that we tracked, and I'm going to find the place where it stick to the rock in the front, which is this one. So create solid, and you have to make sure that this solid is really stick to the rock in the front, which is the one we're going to mask. And I'm going to hit T, it's going to bring up the opacity, and I'm going to bring the opacity down to 1 so we can see it. And so this part, I'm going to mask out just the part where the rock, you know, the rock in the front is. And I probably have to keyframe on the mask path because it's probably going to move. And I'm going to the very end of the shot and readjust the mask. So basically what we're trying to do, we kind of have to guess, you know, the way around where this front rock would be in order to really use it as a mask. So I'm going to hit T to bring up the opacity back to 100. And again, I mean, it looks pretty solid, but at the same time, it looks way too smooth, you know, the edges. So we're going to use the next FX, which is roughen edges. So you could just either type it down or find it. There. So I'm going to drag it down into our solid, the one that we just create. So for border, I'm probably gonna bring it up. And if you remember, or if you have been used this effect, you probably already know that how much the edges would work, it depends on how much you adjust the mask feather as well. So in this case, I'm probably gonna bring it up into 20 and maybe scale it, you know, down a bit. So maybe 20 too much, maybe let's try 10, nah, probably 5. And maybe bring down the border a bit. And after that, we're just gonna unsoloed it. Alright, so one of the things is, at this moment, you probably kind of figured or kind of make a guess of what we're going to do next. Which is, basically, we're just going to adjust the track matte of the lava that we want to subtract. So we're going to use alpha inverted matte. Alright, as you can see, the lava that we just added, it looks like it's hidden behind the rock in the front. So here, if it's not showing, you can either use the toggle switches to bring out the track matte as well. So you may have a question or ask, how does it even work? So basically, our solid on top, the one that we just create, it works as like a matte, a mask, you know. So basically, so in order for track matte to work, you have to have some sort of a layer above it. So you could either use a alpha matte, so it's going to take the data from what we just masked, replying to itself. So if you use alpha inverted matte, it's going to invert it basically. So the one that is been masked is going to subtract it. So something like this. I hope you guys understand. Alright, from now on, we can create some more stuff. So from this moment, we can create some more stuff now. So I'm going to shift both of these and then change the color to probably yellow, so it's obvious to see. So I'm going to shift both of them and then duplicate it, and let's find something interesting. And as I told you, if you have like a real footage that you can use, you could just drop it down to this one. But for this case, I only have a still photos asset, so I'm probably going to drag this down to replace it again. And again, I'm probably going to take out the mask first and, you know, reposition it by using anchor point again. Alright, let's see. Ooh, fancy. Alright, so you can use a rotation tool to kind of, you know, tweak it in such a way that you want. And I'll probably have to mask it because it's like, you know, shooting out of the rock, which is kind of weird. And then feather it out. And again, on this point, I can kind of animate it too. So in this case, I'm going to use pan behind tool. So basically, I'm just going to find the anchor point where it should be start. So I'm going to hit S, which is bring up the scale, and then I can scale it up. As you can see, something is going off now. It's because the base of the lava, or the, you know, the lava that's shooting, it's not right in its position. So I can readjust it again, you know, move it there. So what you can see it here is going to, you know, increase the scale, just kind of simulate the explosion of it. So you can bring down more scale to it. Alright, so let's see it. So as you can see, it's like a explosion in slow motion-ish, kind of. So in this case, I can just duplicate it again, you know. And so for this one, I'm going to unkeyframe the scale, the one that we just did. So for this layer, I'm going to spin it to make in a different angle, which is the spin on the green axis, which is the Y axis. And then I can just, you know, increase the sides however I want. And let me check on the mask. So I don't want this, so I'm just gonna tweak it. Right, and hit A, and then bring down, you know, the position. And again, so I can keyframe on the scale again. And this one probably start out small, and this one is increase it like so big. So epic, isn't it? Whatever Nippon Studio did is always end up epic. Alright, as you can see, well, I mean, if this part is way too much, I mean, let's adjust it on the mask then. And then crank it down a touch. And I mean, you know, in this process, you can duplicate it however layer you want, okay? Which is the fun of it, isn't it? You know, you can create something however you want and the way that you want it. So again, I'm going to duplicate this set one more time. I'm going to unkeyframe it on the scale. And again, I'm going to rotate it maybe on this side. Alright, what do we got here? Right. What do we got? It's flattened down, you know. I mean, like, well, what is this? I mean, it's probably gonna be look something weird. So let me tweak it, maybe push it up like this, and maybe tilt it into y-axis, and maybe scale it down sideways. And let me readjust it on the mask. Alright, probably just that. Again, I can keyframe on the scale, you know, and this one probably start out small. So that means when I played it, you will see it's like it's, you know, spatting out or shooting out sideways. So let's get it bigger and crazier. Alright, something like this. It's really up to you, you see. And you can try to angulate it however you want. Alright, better. Maybe let's move this mask just a little bit. And maybe scale it down a little bit. And again, I mean, this is really up to you. How do you want to, you know, adjust it? And on this part, I'm going to skip it a little bit. So I think because you guys already know how it's done, so we're going to fast forward to the next point. So right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of make like a light glow to it. But first of all, I'm going to unlock all of this except for our original footage. So you could either click Control A, which is like it's going to, you know, control all of it, and then hit Control D, which is duplicate, and don't hit anything else yet. Okay, so we're going to pre-comp it. So hit Control Shift C, and then you can name it like light glow or something. And then I'm going to lock everything back. I think at this point, some people might question like, hey, Mr. Nippon, why don't you just use the FX glow? Wouldn't that be much easier and solve the problem here? My answer would be, we're going to answer that question later on. Alright, so let's go to the light glow comp. And then, as you can see, everything is pretty much the same. Alright, so I'm going to lock all of them. And first of all, I have to create the background, which is the solid. I'm probably just going to use black and drag it down to all the way to the bottom because we need the background to be black. Otherwise, it would create some sort of complication when we do the light glow. And again, we can come back to our final comp. And right now, I can just use blur and sharpen and throw in some fast blur. And I can use a blur radius to 5. And please don't forget to hit on repeat edges and use a screen mode. Voila. Did you see it? Now it's looks like the light is glowing now. It's make things hotter. if that's a thing. And one of the things that I kind of don't like, which is all these like purple-ish magenta edges there, as you can see there. So I'm going to use the FX color correction, and then I'm going to use hue and saturation. And for this one master, I'm going to go to magentas, which is the purple basically. So I'm going to drag the saturation down all the way, and also lightness all the way down. And you can also increase the channel range, which is like how much the FX would affect the magenta color. And of course, bring down the magenta lightness. So bring it down like this. So basically we don't see any purple anymore. So I'm going to throw down some exposure and crank it up too. And again, the fast blur always on the bottom. Alright, as you can see now. Alright, so let me decrease this one or crank it up as well. Okay. And again, I mean, you can duplicate the light glow layer again. And then you can increase the blur radius to make it even glower. Wait, is that even a word? Glower? Okay, more glow then. And this one, I'm going to duplicate again and just increase it even more so. I think so far right now we're in the right spot now. So I'll probably gonna come down all the way here to adjustment layer and bring down the exposure just a touch, so we can see everything is more clear and more pronounced, I think. Because the darker it gets, the brighter the light is, you know. And again, I can duplicate it again, and also I'll use the masking to just you know, darken the sky there, so we could see the shooting of the lava things even more. So right now we're at the point which is where the holy grail is, which is creating a smoke. Alright, so first of all we need the asset of the smoke. In this case I have this still photos here. So first of all, we pretty much just do like the same thing. So we have to go back to our original footage, and then let's find the spot where we want the smoke to come up. Alright, so drag it down, replace it again, and scale it up all the way. And I can just, you know, mask it, just the part that we want the smoke. And again, I can rotate it and hit F for feather, and then just make it, you know, all over the place like this. Alright, so what we have so far is smoke, which is good. And so we can create some sort of animation to it, which is the movement. So I will hit to P on keyboard to bring up the position, and hit the keyframe. And then to the very end, then I could just drag it up like that. So as you can see, how fast do you want it? It's really up to you actually. Alright, something like this. Let's try screen first so we can see how it goes. And then I can duplicate it again, Control D, and then I will unkeyframe the position and maybe offset the anchor point just a touch. Maybe somewhere like this, and tilt it a bit, and then hit P position again so we can animate it, how it's kind of going out. It's floating out basically. Maybe a little slower. So basically this is just a start of the principle of making smoke. So I'm probably gonna fast forward to this process because you probably already know how to do it. Alright, so this is where we are. As you can see, the smoke looks like very nice. Actually, it has the depth to it, and it looks like it has a volume to it. So basically what I would do is let's put the color to it, maybe orange. So I'm going to pre-comp it, but of course I have to take the camera with it too. So I'm going to duplicate the camera and bring all the way up here, and then shift everything and pre-comp it. Control Shift C, and then you can name it smoke and hit OK. And we'll go inside to it, and I'm going to create a black solid as a background to it, like this. Okay, it seems like some of these are way too bright, so I'll bring the exposure down and maybe just kind of random it, not to make it like they all look the same. Whoa, that's pretty good actually. Alright, maybe let's duplicate one more and maybe hit A and bring this up Z axis. This one should be like, in the foreground, kind of. And hit P again, and you can animate it, Alright, so we come back to our final comp. Alright, so we're going to come back to our final comp, but yeah, we're not really going to use this one like this. It kind of looks weird, isn't it? So this is the point where we get into a core of our holy grail. And that would be the same thing to answer the questions, why don't we use the glow effects? Alright, let me color it first so we're not gonna get confused by it. Alright, I'll duplicate this one and bring it up here. Alright, so let's solo it. And then I'm going to delete all of the effects that we just put it in. And then I'm going to drag exposure down and bring up the exposure. And at the same time, we're going to use the effects glow into it. So what I do here, I'm trying to make it glow, as much as possible. Alright, something like this, probably. Okay, pretty, maybe. Alright, and the other things is I'm going to use the effects key and throw in color range. And I'm going to key out the blacks. So maybe punch up the fuzziness just a touch. So what do we get at the end of the day is this. So what do we get here is the glow itself, that in transparency background, basically. So the way to do is this. So bring down the smoke layer that we just did down underneath the light glow that we just create. And I'm going to choose the track matte of the smoke to alpha matte. And then on light glow layer, I'm going to go to blur and sharpen and throw fast box blur and increase the blur radius. And if I unsoloed it, what do we got here? What do we got here is the smoke that only appears, only the part where the lava shines to. So the reason we don't use the glow effects in the first place is because whatever we want to add or alter it into the lava layers is going to alter it or update it on the smoke layer as well. Now you get it. I'm sorry if you don't get it, but we will get to that in later on, okay? Don't worry. Alright, so what we can do with the smoke, we can use a lighten, something like this. And again, if the smoke it's way too strong, we can use the effects exposure and crank it a touch like this, and also bring down the opacity, something like this, as you can see. And this is what happens. So the smoke appears only where the light hits. And the other thing, I can throw in the tritone effects, so we can readjust the color however we want according to how the lava is. Something like this. And what I did on my project, I can go to the smoke composition and create adjustment layer and go to distort and use turbulent displays. And as you can see, it's kind of like it's look like it's like, you know, moving and wobbly-ish kind of. So again, play around with the amount and size as well. So it looks like it's moving and it's tweaking its stuff, you know, in such a way. And again, this is like just a thing that add to it. And of course, I mean, it would be nice if you have like a real footage that you can use, of course. And so feel free to do that as well. And again, we back to our final comp. If you want to decrease the how the things would glow, you can readjust on the glow as well. And as you can see, because like the way how much it glows, it depends on the glow effects that we throw in the light glow layer. Alright, something like this. And maybe let's color the layer so we're not gonna get confused by it. Let's try purple. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate it again. And for this one, I'm not going to use glow. And also on blur, I'm going to bring it down. And maybe let's just take glow out. And exposure, I'm probably gonna bring down like maybe 3. And what do we got here? So what we got here is the part where really in the core of the light. Basically, it's create a small range of the smoke. Something like this. Maybe let's bring up the opacity. As you can see here. Did you see it? And as you can see in the real world, I mean the light where it's the core of the light where it shines most, you know, going to affect the smoke around it a lot. So that's what we're doing here. Alright, maybe let's recolor it on the tritone just a touch. Alright, let's see. Well, I think it's fine. Yep. Okay. And again, I mean, at this point, you can add some other things more, you know, you can add fire or create heat distortion or something like that. And maybe let me duplicate these again one more time. And for this one, I'm going to increase the blur even more. And this one, and for this one, I'm going to go to blur and sharpen and use a fastbox blur again. And make it blur out even more so. And this one probably try screen. And this one gonna do something like the light that's scattered around in the air when it's emit to the smoke. And again, I tend to do this a little brighter than it's supposed to be in the final product, because we know at the end of the day we have to do a color grading, and maybe it might bring it down some of the things that we want to see in the process. So this is one of the things that we're trying to achieve, which is like, how is this work, you know, when we update the stuff and da. So let's do it. For example, alright, so maybe, oh, I have another idea, or maybe it's like, whoa, maybe like, wait, I have another idea, or maybe, wait, client wants to add something more. you know how it is. Alright, so I'm probably just gonna do the same thing, and I'll just gonna drag this down just for an example. Alright, and again, just bring down the exposure and just, you know, mask it. And then feather it out. And maybe bring it down below the light glow. And let's try screen. Okay, let's see it. And I mean, I'm not really keen for you guys to do on like something like this. Otherwise, it's gonna look like it's flat. Alright. So Okay, for example, like this is the part where we want to add stuff in. And of course, what I can do, I could just copy this one and paste on the light glow comp. And when we come back to our final project, as you can see it obviously, first of all, it affects the light glow as well. And secondly, it's going to update on how the smoke would appear as well. How does it work? Because it's working within the light glow layer, remember? So technically what it means that whatever light glow change, the smoke change as well. Now you get it, right? Alright, so this is pretty dang advanced, isn't it? If not, I don't know what else is as advanced in here now. Alright, so if you don't want it, you just shut the eyes off, and then it's automatically update everything. See how cool it is? And again, I mean, this effects can apply to so many things. I mean, imagine it like if you have a building and you have like some sort of a neon light on sign on the building, or a hologram, and it's affecting the smoke around it, like kind of dystopia look, kind of like Blade Runner or whatever. I mean, that's also work in this case too, you know? Or maybe like the mountain with the logos on top or something like that. It's really up to your creativity. And again, as we go through the whole tutorial here, you kind of already know the limits of it, you know, like, you know, when it's turning or turn it sideways or something like that, something would appear like it's flat, you know. So I think that's something that you probably have to be cautious of. Alright, so far right now, this is the end now. And since you guys are so patient watching this tutorial towards the very end here, I do have a special gift for you too, which is the After Effects project files of this effect. So basically you could just take it and use it, or other way, you know, I mean, reconstructure by looking at, you know, all different layers and assets. And in the future, if you use this effect into your own work, or as a project or something like that, you can also share your work to us as well. You can send the link or share your work on our Facebook fan page, Nippon Studio. Alright, so thank you to you all that keep supporting and watching our videos. And I'll see you guys next time with me, Nippon from Nippon Studio. May God bless you, and goodbye. สวัสดีครับ